welcome back to PERIDOT TV. How are you doing? As you know, the ongoing incident in South Africa is so disheartening, it's terrible. And some African countries also responded, but not as evil and as terrible as South Africa actually initiated this attack. As you know, a lot of businesses and shops have been destroyed in South Africa. A lot of people have been maimed, killed. And the bad part of this is that South Africa is denying every of those things. The president of the United States of America, Donald Trump, has reacted to these xenophobic attacks on other Africans in South Africa. He reacted to this via his Twitter handle at Real Donald Trump and vowed to sanction South Africa. He said this barbaric attacks by South Africans is very disappointing. It is time we put South Africa under strong economic sanctions. First, it was the minority Caucasian people. Now it is the African. Either Cyril get his people in line, or we pull out all our investments and they learn. That is what the president tweeted. Now, you know that South Africans they've been very wild. They've been very wild for some time now. This is not the first time that xenophobic attacks have been meted on other Africans in South Africa. And the story we hear is that they say that Africans took their businesses, they took their jobs, and that's the reason why they are poor. These people seems to be disgruntled and they look at them as lazy, unproductive set of people. We have other professionals that are from other countries working the system in South Africa and also paying their tax, but it's quite unfortunate that these people do not see this is they claim that other African countries are involved in drugs and they're involved in other dangerous vices, killing, raping, and all of these things. That's what they claim, and they point fingers at Nigerians too. And this is so sad because this is not really totally correct. Are we going to say that crime does not exist in South Africa before other African countries started coming in? Don't let us forget that other African countries were not coming into South Africa before the apartheid period. It was afterwards that other African countries started coming into that place. And now I'll give you a little history. There are countries that actually stepped up to help South Africa during their crisis, during the period that they were being killed, and they claimed that their properties and lands were being taken from them. One of the countries that stood in Africa is Nigeria. Nigeria spent a whole deal of money, a whole lot of money, running into billions of dollars. They opened up their schools, they gave out scholarships, and all of these things. They did a lot. In fact, Cuba also helped South Africa, but it's quite unfortunate that we will find many of their ministers actually promoting this violence. Their president said words that encouraged this. He dropped some subtle sentences that actually pushed those people into doing this. They are kind of I don't understand the kind of people that these South Africans are. Bantu people, they call them. Now the Boer were the white minority, the Caucasian minority that were on that land. They built South Africa. Although some might say there are other things involved in this, they actually oppressed the Bantu people, the present South Africans. They oppressed them, and they did a lot of things, and people stood for them. The Boer were the people that actually built South Africa. What you see right there in South Africa, the infrastructure, the system, and everything that works were actually built by this Boer there. Although we know that 80% of the government is now given to the Bantu people, the majority in South Africa right now. But nevertheless, we should recognize that these South Africans are being evil to other Africans that stood up for them. Well, one of the people that spoke and made this dirty statement is Dr. Grace Naledi Mandisa-Pandor. She is a South African Minister of International Relations, and you would expect someone that actually studied international relations or is representing South Africa on this should be diplomatic about things and speak things in the right manner. But unfortunately, she decided to open her mouth and she said that Nigerians and other African countries are involved in drug trafficking in their countries, and she pointed fingers more at Nigerians in dealing with drugs. Now we know that these people are disgruntled, they are irresponsible, insensitive, shameless, conflicted, self-hating, and pitiful and very crazy creatures. That's what they are. they are blood-crazed compatriots. That's what they are. That's what they are. Yeah, they claim that they are upholding South Africa. They are holding on to South Africa, their country. But they believe that the way to do this is to demonize other people that stood for them and kill them. Now, this is bloodthirsty. This is a bestial way of doing things. If you know that some group of people are involved in some activities in your country, I believe that your government, South African government, should have the police and agencies that are actually built and created for this. You should arrest, prosecute those people and let them go to prison. But this is not the way. They believe that the only way forward is to attack defenseless, innocent people, kill Nigerians, kill Africans. Now, you saw what happened in other African countries like Congo, Zimbabwe. They all went out, they destroyed South African owned businesses. Now, a lot of people are not happy about this. Nobody is really happy about this because we do not want this. There are a lot of people working in some of these South African owned businesses, and from what we heard in Nigeria, we come to realize that some Nigerians also have a portion in these businesses, South African owned businesses. For example, like MTN, they have portions of, they have shares in this company. So breaking and destroying these shops and these businesses is also disturbing, and it's also going to have effect on Nigerians, and particularly people that work there, people that just earn wages in that place. But it's so sad that this is happening. Now, a lot of people pointed fingers at the president that he's not proactive, that if it were some other administration, probably they would have acted. Now, I'll bring you backward. During the period of Goodluck Jonathan, when South Africa deported some Nigerians over yellow fever card, they claimed that the yellow fever cards were fake or they weren't real or stuff like that, and they deported a lot of Nigerians. Nigerians paid them back by deporting a lot of South Africans from Nigeria, and they corrected this action that they made on that they method on Nigeria. They corrected it immediately. That is a proactive, that is a government that has the interest of the populace at heart. A lot of people call Goodluck Jonathan a slow person. Yes, Goodluck Jonathan also operated in a system that wasn't productive per se, but it seemed that Buhari, being a military person, a lot of people expected him to speak out for Nigerians, but he did not do this as expected. Now, what will you say with the problems that we have in Nigeria? Yes, Nigeria is at the low point right now. We are weak. Boko Haram is doing its own. Cattle herdsmen are doing their own. Buhari will only act, will only speak when it has to do with cattle. It's quite unfortunate. And Buhari, some might say Buhari has good things in his heart, that he is actually someone that wants to do good, but it's quite unfortunate. I'm not saying that in totality the good, because there are parts that you need to act. Yes, there are things that you need to be very quick at. You need to act, and Buhari is not acting even on the national level, internally in Nigeria, not to talk of that of South of Africa. Now, a lot of Nigerians expected that we all come together and say no to these xenophobic attacks and speak out for other African countries that do not have voice. But someone called Madam Ezekwesili went to South Africa. That is the same summit, economic summit, World Economic Summit, that the president decided to not to attend. They decided to boycott this in protest, as he realized that Nigerians were actually speaking up against this. He decided with other people to boycott this, but unfortunately, it seems people do not want to operate the same way. Ezekwesili visited, he went for this and for this summit, and she claimed that she was going to use this as a platform to speak against the ills and the xenophobic attack. And Nigerians felt like your voice would have been louder right here in Nigeria. South Africans would have realized that there is trouble. There is problem, because if there is a summit and Nigeria is not there, Nigeria is not representing, then they would realize. In fact, I believe that other African countries will follow suit, but they felt it was not so. They felt that they were going to attend this summit, and they went there with some other people. And this tells you that we have a lot of, there is a lot of issues in Nigeria. I don't know if I'm going to call this vested interest or whatever it is. So what's your take about all of these things that is happening right here? Do you think that there should be strong economic sanction from Africans, the African government, against? We don't have to wait for United States of America to impose economic sanction or any other sanction against on South Africa. I think Nigeria should begin to stand up for themselves and other African countries now, not just giant of Africa because they loot money. They should be able to stand up right now, and there should be sanctions. Yes, there should be sanctions against on this South Africa. They should sanction them. That's my own take about this. They should sanction them, economic sanctions, their companies, and a lot of things should be sanctioned. That is my own take about this. What's your opinion? Because this is not going to stop. This xenophobic attack is not going to stop, because if you realize that people are acting in a certain way, we should look into it and see why they are acting this way. South Africans have become disgruntled. They believe they are so lazy. They believe that, and now I'm not saying in general all of them, but majority of them, they are hardworking South Africans anyway. So we are not going to generalize, just like how they are generalizing about African countries and about Nigeria. South Africans, many of them are lazy. They are layabout. They consume drugs. They like this easy, sleazy life. Go to club, collect money from government. That's what they do. And right now, I don't know if economic sanction is placed on them, will that make them sit up tight? And I think African nations should come together, have a quick meeting. We don't have to wait for other foreign nationals, foreign countries to come and speak before we speak. It's time for them to come together, sit together, discuss this thing, sanction South Africa, so that they can put an end to this, because we see that most of their leaders, in fact, is it a minister, one of their minister of police affairs, said the same thing, said, how can a city be occupied by 80% foreigners? Soon they will take over our government. We fought for this country. We are not going to allow this. That is silly. That's a very stupid statement, and this prompted many of the South Africans to kill. And we don't know what is really going to come out of this. So let's meet at the comment section below. What is your take about this? And while you're that, if you have not done so, kindly tap on that subscription button. It's free. And also the red notification icon bell, so that you will be notified whenever new videos are uploaded. Thanks for stopping by.